Imagine for a moment a holiday unlike any other. Most holidays are filled with feasts, great tables groaning under the weight of roasted meats, steaming breads, and sparkling drinks. Families gather with laughter and music, the senses delighting in food and fragrance. But this holiday is different. On this day, the table is bare. On this day, the glass of water is left untouched. On this day, shoes are slipped from the feet and set aside, leaving the souls to feel the raw earth or the cold floor beneath. It is a day not of indulgence, but of restraint. Not of laughter and dancing, but of silence, humility, and reflection. This is Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. It is the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, and one of the most unusual. For nearly 25 hours, ordinary life is paused. Eating, drinking, bathing, perfumes, leather shoes, even marital intimacy, all are set aside. In their place comes prayer, confession, forgiveness, and the haunting sound of ancient melodies rising toward heaven. Tonight, let us step into this extraordinary day, a holiday of no food, no water, and no shoes, and discover why, for thousands of years, it has stood apart as the most solemn yet hopeful day of the year. Ancient origins in the wilderness. The roots of Yom Kippur reach deep into the wilderness wanderings of the Israelites. In the book of Leviticus, we read instructions for a day of afflicting the soul, a phrase that would later be understood as fasting and abstaining from earthly pleasures. In those early centuries, the focus was on ritual. Once a year, the high priest of Israel, dressed not in the ornate garments of office, but in the simplest of white linen, would enter the most sacred place of all, the Holy of Holies, inside the Temple of Jerusalem. There, surrounded by silence and the thick smoke of incense, he would ask forgiveness for himself, for his household, and for the people. Perhaps most mysterious of all was the ceremony of the 2 goats. One goat was sacrificed on the altar. The other was brought before the priest, symbolically laden with the sins of the community, and then led far into the wilderness, never to return. This scapegoat bore away the failings of the people, disappearing into desert hills beneath a blazing sky. Even after the temple was destroyed and the rituals ceased, the spirit of this day endured. The sacrifices of animals gave way to the sacrifices of the heart. Fasting and prayer replaced altar and incense. Yet the theme remained: cleansing, renewal, and the chance to begin again. The fast, hunger as a teacher. Central to Yom Kippur is the fast, no food, no drink, not even water, for nearly 25 hours. At first, this might sound harsh, almost impossible. But fasting is not meant to punish. It is meant to sharpen. Think of hunger as a teacher. The gnawing of an empty stomach reminds us of our dependence, our fragility. It humbles the proud and softens the heart. When thirst dries the tongue, each drop of water becomes a miracle remembered. Without meals to prepare or enjoy, the day stretches open. Hours once filled with cooking and eating become hours of prayer and reflection. In the absence of food, the soul is fed with memory, honesty, and hope. And fasting leaves a mark beyond the body. After hours of emptiness, the first taste of bread at the fast's end becomes almost overwhelming. a reminder to treasure what is usually taken for granted. The ordinary becomes extraordinary, simply because it was withheld. Fasting is not unique to Judaism. Christians, Muslims, Hindus and Buddhists also embrace it. But on Yom Kippur, the fast is universal. From the most devout rabbi to the least observant Jew, millions around the world set aside food and drink on this day. It is a shared act of humility that binds the community together across oceans and centuries. No shoes, walking barefoot before God. Perhaps even more curious is the rule about shoes. On Yom Kippur, leather shoes are forbidden. Why shoes? Because shoes separate us from the earth. They cushion our steps, protect us, and symbolize wealth and comfort. To remove them is to remove status, pride, and luxury. There is a story in the book of Exodus. Moses, tending his flock in the wilderness, sees a bush burning but not consumed. As he approaches, a voice calls out, "Remove your sandals from your feet, for the ground on which you stand is holy." To walk barefoot is to walk humbly. To set aside leather shoes on Yom Kippur is to echo Moses, standing in awe before the presence of God. It is to remember that we are dust and ashes, equal in our vulnerability, stripped of pretense. Many worshippers today come to synagogue in cloth or canvas shoes, simple footwear that offers no luxury. The sensation is subtle, but it lingers, every step a reminder of humility and sacred ground. The 5 afflictions. Beyond fasting and shoes, Yom Kippur includes 3 other prohibitions. Together, they are called the 5 afflictions. No eating or drinking, no washing or bathing, no perfumes or ointments, no marital intimacy, no wearing of leather shoes. Each one takes away a layer of ordinary life. Each denial strips away comfort, distraction, and indulgence. But the goal is not misery, it is clarity. By setting aside the body's pleasures for one day, worshippers find space to focus wholly on the soul. The day becomes almost otherworldly, a pause from the noise of daily life, a glimpse of eternity in the midst of time. In ancient communities, children would watch their parents refrain from even the simplest of indulgences and learn that holiness sometimes means restraint. The hush of the day sank into memory, a rhythm passed down from generation to generation. The sound of Kol Nidre. When Yom Kippur begins at sundown, the synagogue fills with one of the most haunting melodies in the world, Kol Nidre. The name means all vows. It is a prayer asking release from rash or impossible promises made in the past year. But more than its words, it is the music that pierces the heart. Carried on a centuries-old melody, slow and solemn, Kol Nidre rises and falls like a sigh. The cantor chants, the congregation joins, and for a few moments, the walls themselves seem to breathe with longing. In that music, one feels the weight of human frailty and the hope of divine mercy. It is said that even Jews who rarely set foot in synagogue all year will come on Yom Kippur night, drawn by the pull of Kol Nidre. Some recall grand medieval synagogues, where the prayer echoed against stone arches. Others remember humble shtetls, where the melody floated into starry skies. Wherever it was sung, Kol Nidre carried the same gravity, a people unburdening their hearts together. A day of confession and community. Throughout Yom Kippur, prayers continue hour after hour. But these are not ordinary prayers. They are confessions, spoken not in private, but aloud, together. The words are in the plural. We have sinned. We have lied. We have spoken falsely. Even if one person did not lie, they confess alongside their neighbor who did. Even if one person did not steal, they speak the words for those who did. Why? Because no one stands apart. Sin is not only individual, it is communal. By sharing confession, the people share responsibility. No one is shamed alone, and no one is excused alone. All are in need of forgiveness, and all seek it together. This collective voice creates a powerful sense of unity. In the hush of the synagogue, the words echo, "We have sinned." And in that moment, the barriers between people crumble. In medieval Europe, Christians sometimes pause to listen outside Jewish synagogues, astonished by the rawness of this communal confession. They may not have understood the words, but they recognize the sound of human beings seeking forgiveness together. The long day. Hour after hour, the prayers continue. Morning passes into afternoon, afternoon into evening. Hunger grows sharper, thirst deeper, yet the spirit soars. For some, the fast is a trial of endurance. For others, it is strangely liberating. Without food, without distractions, time itself feels different. The day becomes a journey, long, solemn, yet strangely peaceful. Children sometimes nap on benches. Elders close their eyes and rest between prayers. Families stand together, generation after generation, bound by tradition. The lamps glow softly. The parchment pages of prayer books rustle. Some synagogues stay filled all day. Others see worshippers come and go. But wherever it is kept, Yom Kippur leaves an imprint. The memory of hunger, the sound of confession, the strange stillness of a world set apart. The closing of the gates. As the sun begins to set, the prayers reach their climax in a service called Nila, meaning closing. Jewish tradition teaches that on Yom Kippur, the gates of heaven are open, receiving every prayer. But as night approaches, those gates begin to close. The final moments are filled with urgency. One last chance to pour out the heart before the gates shut. The congregation stands, weary yet resolute. Voices rise, pleading, confessing, hoping. It is a moment of intensity that defies description. A whole people standing at the threshold of eternity. And then comes the sound of the shofar. A single long triumphant blast of the ram's horn cuts through the silence. It is the sound of completion, of release, of renewal. The fast is over, the gates are closed, and the people are reborn. Yom Kippur across the ages. For thousands of years, Jews have kept Yom Kippur. Through exile and wandering, through persecution and freedom, the Day of Atonement has endured. In medieval Spain, Jews whispered Kol Nidre in candlelit synagogues, even as inquisitors prowled outside. In Ottoman lands, Yom Kippur brought together communities from across the empire, their voices blending in ancient prayer. In Eastern European shtetls, children watched their grandparents sway in prayer, the synagogue filled with lantern light and hushed devotion. Even in the darkest times, Yom Kippur was not abandoned. In ghettos and camps during the Holocaust, there are accounts of Jews fasting as best they could, whispering confessions in barracks, lighting hidden candles. Though weak and starving, they honored the day, proving that the spirit could not be crushed. In America too, the day shaped immigrant lives. Jewish workers once walked out of factories rather than labor on Yom Kippur, risking wages for the sake of faith. Newspapers recorded entire neighborhoods falling silent, businesses closed, streets empty, but for worshippers moving quietly to synagogue. The Yom Kippur War. In 1973, Yom Kippur became a day of modern tragedy and shock. On October 6th, as synagogues across Israel were filled with worshippers, sirens wailed. Egypt and Syria launched a surprise attack, catching the nation off guard on its holiest day. Soldiers rushed from synagogues still wearing prayer shawls, called to defend their homes. The silence of fasting was shattered by the roar of war. For nearly 3 weeks, the conflict raged. Thousands were killed. The memory of that day still lingers, a reminder that even the holiest moments can be pierced by violence. Yet out of tragedy came resilience, and Yom Kippur remains a symbol not only of atonement, but of survival. The meaning behind the denials. At first glance, Yom Kippur might appear to be a holiday of negatives. Don't eat, don't drink, don't wear shoes, don't wash, don't indulge. But in truth, each no is a doorway to a deeper yes. By saying no to food, the worshipper says yes to reflection. By saying no to water, they say yes to humility. By saying no to shoes, they say yes to sacred ground. By saying no to perfumes and luxuries, they say yes to simplicity. By saying no to pleasure, they say yes to honesty. Each denial peels away a layer of distraction. Each no draws the soul closer to its essence. In the silence of fasting, the soul hears its own voice more clearly. In the humility of bare feet, the heart remembers its place before God. In the absence of earthly comfort, heavenly comfort becomes visible. Some rabbis taught that the day itself is a taste of the world to come, a brief step outside ordinary time, a rehearsal for eternity. At last, the shofar sounds. The gates of heaven are closed. The fast is over. Families return home, weary but renewed. Simple meals are shared, bread, tea, honey cake, sometimes sweet kugel. The food tastes richer than any banquet, for it is eaten after hunger, in gratitude. Shoes are laced once more. Water touches lips. The body is restored, but the soul is changed. Yom Kippur is not a day of misery, but of transformation. It is a day when the body bows low, so the spirit may rise high. A day when pride is stripped away and truth stands bare. A day when the people gather as one, confessing, pleading, and hoping together. And so, year after year, century after century, when the shofar sounds and the fast ends, the faithful step barefoot back into the world, forgiven, renewed, and inscribed once more in the book of life.